Clothing is not only a necessity, but an everyday aspect of your life through which you can express yourself. Wearing clothes you like makes you feel good about yourself, but how often do you think about where your new clothes come from, who made them, how they were made, or how long they had to travel to get to the store you purchased them from? Fast fashion labels are strategically engineering their business models to make shoppers feel like they need to buy more than has ever been necessary. With inventories that constantly cycle in what appears to be new styles and trends, at prices that make purchasing easy, snagging new pieces regularly seems to be a non-issue. These retailers make quick trends affordable for shoppers who aren't looking to invest in pieces that will go out of trend soon. Admittedly, these companies produce irresistible finds, but the process of these clothes from design plan to your hands possesses several real problems for the fashion producers and consumers alike, as well as creating heavy stress on the environment through their production techniques. To understand the forces behind placing a $6 blouse on the shelf at Forever 21, it's helpful to be aware of the main concepts that drive the fast fashion industry. The goal of fast fashion is to deliver small batches of clothes more frequently. By carrying smaller batches of extremely trend-specific clothing, as opposed to larger supplies of garments that more broadly adhere to trends, retailers can turn over their inventory more regularly and with more ease, keeping consumers coming back to purchase new styles. Doing this, however, requires dramatic sacrifice in production quality and ethicality at the expenses of the environment. Let's look at the life cycle of a blouse from a fast fashion retailer. First, the design of the garment. Retailers not abiding by the fast fashion model typically take about 6 months to see a single piece of clothing from design to store floor. Fast fashion stores use closer to 3 weeks to complete this same process. Retail giants achieve this by cutting corners in design originality by stealing from high-end runway designs, and in some cases, even independent artists. Take the trendy top you saw at Forever 21. Like those before, it is a filtered version of a design that took months to develop. Fast fashion stores currently display hyper-trendy clothing, making it easier for shoppers to situate a garment into the current trends. It requires less thinking, but it also dulls trends. As with anything that comes into popularity, the more exposure it faces, the less trendy it becomes. The faux fur jacket you saw a Kardashian wearing once at the beginning of the season becomes a rack of vaguely similar jackets, with hardly discernible changes from one to the next. Already, the ethics of these companies are looking questionable, but it gets worse when we consider that these companies also have to churn out the clothes quickly and cheaply to satisfy consumers' appetite. According to Forbes, 75 million people are making our clothes today. 80% is made by women who are only 18 to 24 years old. A majority of them earn less than $3 per day. The biggest corners fast fashion cuts are human. Additionally, these factories are extremely underregulated in regards to the environment. According to the World Bank, 17 to 20% of industrial water pollution is from textile dyeing and treatment. Garments turned out quickly tend to be low quality. These garments deteriorate fast, driving consumers back to stores to replace what should have lasted. The final and most underlooked step in the life cycle of clothing is disposal. Huffington Post reported that in 2016, that, on average, each American threw away roughly 70 pounds of clothing and other textiles per year, equivalent in weight to more than 200 men's t-shirts. As most of these garments are made out of synthetic fabrics, they will not biodegrade in a landfill. A single cotton t-shirt takes 700 gallons of water to manufacture. The waste accumulated is in the realms of hundreds of millions of gallons of water. Even if you donate your clothes, in the US, only 10% of donated clothes get resold. This is because, 1, the clothes are only made to last for a few wears, so the donations become unsalvageable. Or 2, the clothes are manufactured to hypertrends, meaning the demand for them has diminished by the time they are donated and won't be resold. This toxic cradle-to-grave model is continued by the consumer's quest for more and more material possessions. The advertising for clothing items creates a false need for that particular item through constant bombardment of ads on TV and social media. Purchasing these supposedly guilt-free items gives the purchaser a nice shopping high, which will be sought after over and over, like any addiction process. The fast fashion industry thrives off consumers' addiction to the drug they are dealing. In opposition to the fast fashion industry, the sustainable and ethical clothing industry is on the rise. To understand more about this industry, we met up with Emma and Bobby, the owners of Hazel and Rose, a boutique in Northeast Minneapolis that sells only ethically and sustainably sourced goods.
There's a lot of benefits. Like personal benefits for the shopper is your purchases are going to last longer because generally speaking, they're going to be better made. They're not going to fall apart after a couple washes. The fabric quality is going to stay.
A lot of people who are just like out frivolously shopping, just like see something, they're like, oh, that's cute, I should have it. And people who come in here are usually being a little bit more specific about the things that they're trying to build their wardrobe into.
Ask questions about where your clothes come from. Research.
Research.
You can find some things online. If you can't find everything online, you can ask, and if they can't tell you, then maybe it's not a good idea to shop there, because if there's nothing to hide, then they should be able to tell you.
A lot of people would ask, why is this so expensive? And my first initial reaction was always to say, you're asking the wrong question. You should be asking why everything else is so cheap.
Instead of looking at the price you're paying on this one item, this one time, think about cost per wear and how much it's going to cost you in the long run. Because if you see a $49.99 dress at Zara that you really love, you might wear it a handful of times. You find another dress that's sustainable and ethical, maybe it costs $200 or $300, which is a big pill to swallow, but you're going to keep that dress for hopefully forever. If a company hasn't been doing good and is trying to do good but in a small way and it feels like greenwashing, it's still better to support those good things that they're doing than to completely boycott them. Because at the end of the day, if they try this thing and no one buys it, they're going to stop trying that thing.
Yeah.
And even though it may feel a little bit like they're just trying to jump onto this bandwagon and they don't really mean it, they're still trying. And as consumers, we need to support that effort so that it can continue to grow.
While there is a lot to fix in the fashion industry, there are things that you can do today. Websites like Project Just and Good On You provide information on retailers' production standards to help stay educated about where you shop. One of the most affordable options would be to shop secondhand instead of new. This is not only economical, but in shopping secondhand, you are creating a circular economy instead of a linear one. The only thing to be aware of in thrifting is overbuying. While certain items seem like a deal, when thrift shops sell too much clothing, they will raise their prices. This is detrimental to those that must shop secondhand for the affordability. Once the prices are raised too high, the secondhand clothing becomes comparative pricing of new clothing, and those that really need to shop secondhand won't be able to afford it anymore. Another solution that also proves itself to be cost-effective is simply buying less. When you are mindful of what you realistically need and what you really like, regardless of trends, you will find that you buy less and save more. Another good tip is to buy clothes that last, so they don't need constant replacing. But what about the clothes that you already have? If your clothing no longer fits into your life, there is no point in keeping it. The best option for your unwanted clothing items is to either sell them or gift them to a friend. Although change is difficult, and some industries seem permanent, the fast fashion industry is not an unstoppable force. Consumers hold the power, and smart choices of where consumers consciously decide to put their money speaks loudly to corporations. If buyers begin leaning towards buying only a few higher quality and less hyper-trendy pieces per season, shopping consciously secondhand, and finding ways to work those pieces to the trends as they come and go, the model of fast fashion becomes obsolete. Being an informed consumer is a tool that benefits you and the planet. Use your buying power to stand up against the fast fashion industry.